read and discuss session. Today we are reading book Drawing Solutions by Patti Dobrowlski. Uh, we are on part 1, Why Mapping Works Visual Images and Change, page number 12. Owing the life you have created. When you step back and look at your life and what you have created, what is and isn't working suddenly comes into clear focus. Because the left side of your brain needs to categorize, it tends to sort experiences into good or bad, comfortable or uncomfortable, and so on. And it brings up a bunch of self-talks, some helpful, some not. The left side of the brain is set up to critique how we have been doing. It is wired to compare and contrast and immediately activates a move towards or get any response that has to do with our internal reward system. This is a good thing. You think to yourself, so your brain directs every part of your system towards creating more of it, or that experience feels threatening. Thus, your brain sends signal to give you less of that. In fact, any kind of change in our lives causes a reaction. For example, you get a new job, this is considered a good change. Most of us, when confronted with a change that we initiated, and one that appears, at least at first, to be better for us, are able to turn on a dime to adapt to the new situation. You like it, it fits into how you have prioritized your internal reward structure, and subsequently, you want to embrace that experience. But your brain will generate a very different reaction to the job you have been forced to take because you suddenly found yourself unemployed and broke. This feels bad. This feels like a bad change, even if the job solves a very big problem, because some aspect of it is not aligned with what you want. The commute is horrific, or aren't working into your chosen field, and subsequently you wish you didn't have to take that job and you feel resistant. Internally, you want to move on. This is why some of who have you would have needed to make a change for a long time have been avoiding it. I'm warning that you can expect to have an initial negative reaction when you begin to use my mapping process to view and examine your current reality. If you are really being honest, you will find it reveals issues that you have been grappling with, often for a very long time. The snapshot process will help you find ways to work differently with what you see, and you will be surprised at its simplicity and effectiveness. However, no matter what the change is, you will still have to do some work to make things happen. Susan, a participant in a mapping session, wrote about what happened when she worked on the current reality part of a map. It put into a visual context what I know about myself. Seeing the fear component in my images challenges me to look at this piece with compassion and courage so I can make the desired change. This has been my focus now, building my confidence. He is a great example of someone willing to look at it and work with self-made obstacles. It isn't easy to dig deep enough to understand what might be contributing to our internal dissonance. But you can bet if you don't do something about the dissonance you feel, you will end up being forced to. You will hate your current administrative job because what you really want to do is to be a chef. A chef. Do you find your primary relationship boring? Do you feel you never have time to relax? If so, you might find yourself spending long hours on the couch recovering from a sprained ankle. Uh, in other words, you can count on life to do something to provide you with the changes you need, even if you are not consciously asking for them. In the mapping process, you will find it can be empowering to admit your part in creating how you got to where you are today. Look without judgment as both what is working and what isn't. To see that you just to see that just below the surface of your perception lies the truth. The more you own your truth, the easier it will be to transform into something that aligns more closely with your goals. I'll stop here. Do you want to continue next, Julie?
Okay. Um, a workshop participant had recently gotten a DUI, drinking under the influence. He explained his situation to me and then expressed with exasperation, well, how was I supposed to know that they lowered the blood alcohol level in our states? Often we make our situations more difficult by not looking at the full picture to see what we have created through our beliefs and actions. When we fail to do the hard work of examining the truth, we prolong the process of changing and make it much more difficult. The truth was he drank too much to legally and safely drive, yet he chose to drive anyways. It was as simple as that. When life takes an unexpected turn, it is easy to ask, why did this happen to me? If you really want to change your current situation, you must also change the behavior that set in motion, the pattern that created your situation. It may be wiser to ask, what is life trying to tell me about myself through this experience? When you ask this question in response to life's changes, you begin getting answers that allow you to assess honestly where you are and the clues for how to go about charting a new course. Because in truth, change is a constant process. It is only our perception of change that makes it seem good or bad. Your goal when you begin to depict the current reality portion of your map will be to raise your level of awareness so that you become a responsible without judgment, guilt, or regret for what you have created. Simply observe and note the patterns with openness and curiosity. We tend to repeat patterns because they're part of a learned behavior that was solidified in our brain early in life. In a workshop I took to understand a process called Psych K, a participant shared her disdain for doing dishes. When the facilitator probed her a bit, a woman recalled that her mother had once slapped her face when she had done a poor job of dishwashing. The facilitator explained, the subconscious doesn't know about time. Each time you stand in front of the sink or think about doing your dishes, it is as if your mother just slapped you a second ago. Her task was to reprogram that part of her subconscious to bring it up to date. Your experiences planted the seeds of your present situations. By creating a map of where you are now, you can uncover life events that establish your belief and behavior, decide if they no longer serve you, and choose to change them. Okay, I'll stop here.
Dream a desired new reality. Okay, fess up. Are you a perpetual daydreamer? Why shouldn't you be? It's exciting to dream of what we would like to be doing or having in our world. A recent New York Times article examined how letting your mind wander actually helps you to remain focused on your key goals instead of getting mired in the dull details that accompany consciousness. When you are preoccupied with a routine task, the part of your mind that is daydreaming is actually focusing on your bigger picture goals. Daydreaming or mind wandering helps bring into focus those things that are your bigger priorities and long-term goals and helps keep them from getting lost in a sea of short-term objectives like today's to-do list. When you daydream, you enter a heightened state of problem solving that also makes you happy. You might be surprised by this. Studies of the habits of highly successful men indicate that the one thing they all had in common was the tendency to daydream when faced with challenging problems. When you daydream, you send signals to your subconscious that whatever you are dreaming about is something you like to see happen. Repeated daydreaming about something seems to reprogram your brain and tells your mind where to put its focus and attention. This method for programming success has been used for years by professional athletes. Anyone can do it. A series of events in my life convinced me of the power of my imagination and inner visualization. Many years ago, I was living in New York City and taking acting classes. Like many starving artists, I would sometimes do street theater to make a little spare change. I'd come up with a short comic excuse me, routine using a Michael Jackson song that was very popular at the time. The piece started with a comic monologue followed by my transforming myself into a tennis player who pulled a tennis racket out of a toy baby buggy, all the while lip-syncing. Billie Jean is not my lover. She's just a girl who thinks that I am the one, but the kid is not my son. No, 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 no. Ow. Ooh. What can I say? I'm a performance artist. One day, after passing the hat, I ended up with a grand total of $9.68. Not bad for 15 minutes of work. And it was just enough to buy a couple of slices of pizza, 2 Cokes, and subway tokens. Back to my 4th floor walk-up in Brooklyn's Park Slope. As I walked downtown with a friend in search of the best cheap pizza, we passed through the Broadway theater district. My friend asked me if I ever wanted to perform on Broadway. Me? I replied with a laugh. I'm a performance artist. I would only perform off-Broadway. But later, his question haunted me, and I began to wonder what it would feel like to perform on Broadway. I let myself fantasize about walking through the stage door entrance and into a dressing room with my name on the door. I saw my costume spread out on my dressing table and watched myself dress and apply my makeup. I heard the call for places as I waited silently behind the thick velvet curtain for the house lights to go down. I heard that quiet, expectant hush just before the curtain rises and felt my own anticipation as I went on stage. I told myself to snap out of it, but the lingering sensations of my Broadway fantasy gave me chills. The next time I found myself daydreaming about it, I let myself go even further. If I'm going to be performing on Broadway, I tried to imagine where our opening night party might be. I think, maybe Tavern on the Green. At this point, my imagination is going wild, and I imagine who might be in the audience. What stars might I get to meet when they came backstage to offer their congratulations for my amazing performance? I pictured meeting comic greats like Robin Williams or Steve Martin. My Broadway dream was great fun, and it sustained me as I continued to deal with the decidedly unglamorous reality of my life as a struggling performer in the Big Apple. Eventually, I left New York and returned home to Seattle, where my career as a performance artist sank to an all-time low. I was so broke I really did not know what I was going to do. All of the regular funding sources for my work foundation grants and government programs had dried up. My mother's poor health required me to travel frequently to Los Angeles, and even my meager shifts at a local Mexican restaurant had been cut to the bone. I had no idea how I was going to pay my rent. I found myself daydreaming about an alternate reality where I was a Broadway performer, and it was a wonderful escape. One day, in total desperation, but convinced that I could somehow pull a rabbit out of the hat, I came up with a plan to generate some much-needed cash. I grabbed a rake and drove towards one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in Seattle. Putting my best foot forward, I started knocking on doors and offering to rake yards for the bargain price of $10 per yard. Unfortunately, as a performance artist, I had dyed my hair a weird orange color, which meant that no one wanted to open their door, let alone pay me to rake their yards. Running out of houses, I knocked on the door of the Presbyterian church, where a clever minister gladly hired me to rake his yard that was about the size of a small football field. It was a typical day in Seattle, rainy and windy. As the wind blew leaves as fast as I raked them, my efforts were futile, and after almost 3 hours, I had only half a yard raked. Finally, the minister took pity on me, gave a $10 bill, and sent me on my way. Tired, wet, and discouraged, and with only $10 lousy to show up for my heroic efforts, I drove home feeling worse than ever. Hold on. At home, I had 2 messages waiting for me. One from a friend telling me about auditions being held for performance artists at the Seattle Repertory Theater and encouraging me to audition, and another from my long-lost agent, whom I hadn't heard from in almost 3 years, telling me about the same audition. He added that the auditions were for an upcoming show with the comedian Bill Irwin. Even though I had sworn in the past I would never perform anyone else's material, I decided to give it a try. I felt hopeful and nervous as I stood in line the next day, waiting my turn. The audition involved doing a weird little hop-skip dance step. I panicked. I'm not a dancer. I did my best as Bill Irwin and Nance, his production stage manager, watched. My years of experience with comic improvisation resulted in a quirky interpretation of the dance steps. Suddenly, I found myself with a part in the show, and then the magic began. Our show moved from the small theater to the main stage of the Seattle Repertory Theater. 6 months later, we performed at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., and finally, we ended up, guess where? On Broadway. It keeps getting better. Our opening night was held at the Tavern on the Green, And when we went for drinks to celebrate our success, whom did we see? Steve Martin. And then during the course of our run on Broadway, my fantasies were complete. The night Robin Williams came backstage to meet the cast. Was this all an amazing coincidence? I believe that the pictures I conjured up over and over in my mind, that series of visuals, started the process of making it all real. And so I can say with complete conviction, what begins as a simple daydream can become reality. Reflect back on your own personal accomplishments. How many of your goals began as a simple idea that you played around with in your mind before you took action to achieve it? Okay, I'll stop here.
Nice. Yeah, let's discuss this one. Good start actually. I have also read about a bunch of subconscious mind playing important role or daydreaming, but as far as my experience, maybe I'm not dreaming very big, or maybe my dreams are very different. But I've never found myself. I was thinking something when I got it. Uh, but actually, I don't know if it was dating or not, but long time back, when I just passed out from college in India, I was thinking of coming to US, but I don't know whether it was a daydream, but it was just like I was walking and a plane flew over my over our area, and it was very close, and so I was just thinking like, oh wow, one day I'll sit in the plane and come. Uh, but it was not kind of daydreaming. It was just a wishful thinking. Oh, I wish have I also wanted to go through a plane and go to US and work there. It happened, but I don't know whether it was a very strong thing or it's just one of the thought that came and it worked. But I I want to practice this one because I have heard multiple people saying this multiple times that you have to imagine the end goal, and you have to, let's say for example, if you are thinking of giving a speech, you imagine that you are already giving a speech to a lot of people and see the applaud or something positive from that, and the journey will be smooth, or you will eventually get it. So I have it in my mind to try to do some uh, have some goal and then work on or imagine or kind of daydream about it. Um, it's I'll do it. It's one of my list. I've read it multiple times and want to do it sometime. And let's see if that works for me or not. But, yeah. So that's my take on that. Do you want to go next, Wendy?
Well, the last part of what we were reading really hit home for me
Hmm.
for a couple of reasons. Because when I was younger, I did a lot of daydreaming.
Hmm.
And,
Nice.
I'm now doing things that I was thinking about, thinking that I wanted to do. Now I'm actually doing them. Like
Nice.
all this reading that I do and studying and research. And
So it does work.
also, when they were talking about, the person was talking about having performed at the Kennedy Center, I was in a theater group a few years ago for people who are disabled and not disabled. It was and we performed at the Kennedy Center in 1994.
Nice.
Well, that's it. Actually, it might have been 1989. It was either in the late 80s or the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Nice.
it.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Atu. Yeah, thanks, Wendy. That's great. Yeah, as you guys probably know, I do a lot of this type of envisioning. It's been an interest of mine for a long time. This morning I got up and I just kind of like half asleep, half dreamed for half an hour, for a whole hour. So it's really amazing. And you can do for me, I can do like even a tiny little thing, like these emotional challenges. I might sit and just envision what's a positive outcome. Or sometimes I'll just not even envision a positive outcome, but like what she said in the beginning, like what is life trying to tell me, or what do I really need here, and what is my lesson here. And sometimes so then the answer comes out of my subconscious. I don't even have to set a goal. It can also work for me on a very tiny level. Like if I'm doing a stretch and I'm having a hard time with it, I can actually just relax, take a couple breaths, and use my mind to imagine doing it. So it can work at like a micro level as well as a macro level. And finally, I'll go back to my goodie. Harvard University did a research about people who had goals, and she wasn't even they weren't even talking about envisioning. They're just saying having goals and writing them down. So the three group people, they weren't. One group was no goals, you know. One group was to have goals but not to write them down or anything, and the third group was to have goals and to write them down. So the second group, the groups with money with goals, made twice as much as those without goals. But the key is those people who wrote their goals down, meaning they wrote it down and they work it. They made 10 times as much as the other two groups.
Right.
So if having goals is so powerful, being able to just daydream about them and opening up larger possibilities, it means we can go even quantumly more effective in our vision of what we can do, and then to make that happen. It's very interesting, like if someone takes a digital photograph and they don't use any resolution software, it just looks like a mass of dots. And the resolution comes from the software, from the brain. And I take that to say that there's a lot more possibilities, the way the dots are connected, than what our brain can do. So every time we go into envisioning, we're creating new software for what's possible. So I'm just really grateful to be doing this, and it's so much fun for me to be talking about it with someone. That's it.
So yeah, cool.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Wendy and Julie. That's yeah. I think I should definitely start some envisioning something that I really want and see if in few years whether it works.
Yeah. You know what I have? I bought this little spiral notebook. You can get one for like $1 or $2 at Walgreens, and just start writing down your whatever comes up, your daydream ideas and your visions. It can be words or pictures. In fact, I think I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, I think that's good. Actually, I'm also planning to do it, and I also have this. Since we are reading this book about drawings, I'll come up with some drawing next time to
Oh,
to do
great.
something. Yeah. So just let's. That's one of. Okay, so coming to commitment, that's one of the thing I'm planning to do. So I'll pick up
Okay.
one of my tasks and try to draw the 3 steps, like the 3 ways to getting there from where you are. So that's the other thing I last time I also went to the TED talk of Patti Broadwski about her visualizing. It's a good TED talk. She talks more about her experience, on like same what she spoke here, but looks like she's good at drawing. She was drawing very nice, very good draw, good, really very fast and very good. So yeah, so it was good talk. I think also inspired me. I mean, definitely like the book, but after hearing the tech talk, I was like, okay, let me read that book. So I'll continue. Yeah, this time I have to go to gym. That's for sure. And then practice one of the um, principles from the last book. I mean, notice or try to see, observe or enact in one of my uh, behaviors. So that's that. President Day is there, so we'll be probably going to a zoo here because we have membership of Woodland Zoo Park. So planning to go there. So that's it for myself. Do you want to go next one?
I really don't have anything more to say.
Well, you're going to read this week, right, Wendy?
Yeah, I can read. I'm going to read. I'm going to keep up my reading and my research and my yoga, my exercises. That's it.
Okay, so I'm going to make the same commitment I told that I'm going to draw something.
Mm-hmm.
And I will share in the email with you guys. I don't know what it is yet. Number 2, I'm going to be nice to Hub. Number 3, I'm going to apply emotional intelligence to those 2 incidents.
Mm.
But I'm going to draw it. I'm going to, do a visualization of it and see what comes out. So those are my 3 things.
Awesome. Yeah, he's playing around.
That's great. He's grown so much.
Yeah. He's 6-year-old now.
Wow.
Yeah, I think you remember him from 3 years or look at this guy.
Hi.
Come. You have to say hi.
Hi. Hi. How are you? You're such a big boy.
Mm.
So okay, nice. Cool. So yeah, let's meet up then next week.
Yep.
All have a great long weekend and have fun.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, that noise you were hearing before, I looked out the window and I saw ambulances and an ambulance here, so that might have been what you heard.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So I look for my email on my drawings.
Yeah. I'm going to share it in next session and a video like in this our call.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
I'll have some. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye now.
Bye, Wendy. Bye, Julie.
See you next week.
Bye, Aha.
I say bye. I say bye.
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 Okay.